Viktor is bringing danger back. And the reason why I say that is because how Viktor and Jayce essentially teleported, it was very similar to how Jayce, Echo, and Heimerdinger went to the future. So by looking at this image and comparing it to how Jayce and Viktor left, I'm thinking that Jayce and Viktor went to the future. And the only reason why I would think the creators and where the story could be going is the same way that what Jayce did already, right? He saw what Viktor is going to do, went back, tried to stop it. That seems to be Jayce's very typical storyline. However, what's going to be different is Jayce can't stop this threat, right? He's going to be too hurt, too old, too injured, right? Something. And Viktor is going to be in the same boat, right? They're going to see what the threat is, have this legendary fight, and then come back at the end of season 5 to tell them what that threat's going to be. It follows Jayce's path, and I think that's what they were foreshadowing when he went into the future. Right, that's why they spent so much time on it, is because when they teleport to the future, they're essentially saying, hey, guess what they're going to be doing, right? And it's definitely not Echo or Heimerdinger's route. Like, they're not going to go to a peaceful world. They're not those kinds of characters. So let's think about what the options are that they could be telling us about, knowing what League has up their sleeves. So the first option is the Void. I don't think this is the threat that is coming. And the reason is because it's so big, right? Arcane and their Netflix TV show project is just starting out. This would be essentially endgame of Riot's story that they've been building for like the last 12 years, right? This would not be the first thing they would tackle. So it's a little bit too big. However, the next thing has some compelling events as well. The Darken, a story that, yes, it's involved in League. There's a lot of really cool characters that people have, but not once has it taken the main stage other than in Legends of Runeterra. And even then, it was just a small couple-month event. This could be where they're headed down because it will tie all the regions together. And if I'm right on my theory that they're going to spend essentially 3 seasons building up to them coming back, they're going to be visiting a lot of other regions. So this could be a good way to tie them all back together for one big finale like the Avengers. However, starting Piltover Zon for this story doesn't feel too good, right? There's not a good anchor point, right? And that's why I don't think this is not the one I would go with, right? I think this is more of a Shuriman or Ionian base story, right? You either start with Atrox or you start with Kayn. You don't just start in the middle of what you've already started with Piltover and Zon. So, not my top pick, but there is dragons. And this might be compelling for a lot of people to believe because dragons have been a part of League of Legends since the very beginning, and now we have elemental drakes. But where the Darken's storyline kind of fails to connect to Piltover Zon, the new, or not so new anymore, Hextech and Chemtech drakes really combine well with this dragon conflict, and it will also bring in the Demacians, J4 and Shyvana, who are pretty much just fighting dragons. And there's so many dragons, especially galactic dragons with Aurelian Soul, in the lore. This could be a big event that they could be hinting at. However, the only issue that I have is, does it make sense that Viktor and Jayce are bringing this knowledge to Demacians when Demacians are already fighting the dragons? No, I think this story would make sense if Demacia would start it. Very similar how the Darken would start in Shurima, right? Or Shurima or Ionia, right? Like, it has to start with the people that are actively fighting them right now. I don't know what they would bring back. Like, oh no, we need to train the dragons to fight the Elder Dragon, or the Elder Dragon's coming, right? But I feel like the Demacians would be the ones leading that fight, not bringing this already known knowledge probably that Shyvana has. So the last option that I have is one I firmly believe in is where they're going, and that is Vigo and the Shadow Isles. Now, Runeterra was the first stab that Riot had at a big and epic event, and in my opinion, I don't think it went well, right? I think the indie game they made wasn't very popular. I think the book that they made isn't doing so hot. I think the in-game event was very lackluster, but the idea is super cool, and the champions people love. So because Arcane was so successful, and this is such a big event that ties a lot of people together, I believe that Riot is going to have 5 seasons building up a cast of characters so that when they renew, they already have such a strong story that they can slap season 6 with, and they don't have to just storyboard and start from fresh, right? That's super risky when you already done 5 seasons and you're spending over like $250 million for Arcane. You know, like it's just too big a risk to start fresh at season 6. So I don't think this is a season 5 story. I believe it's going to be 5 seasons of individual stories that are lightly tied together that are leading, just like the Avengers, to a big moment that we can all kind of experience together. And maybe they'll have 3 seasons of just this, because that's where I see it heading at the end of the day, right? And here are the cast of characters that I think they're going to have, right? Because Jayce and Viktor are going to come back, and they're going to tell people. And so they're going to communicate with all the other people, which from the connections they've already made from seasons 1 through 5. And I think the first thing they're going to do, using their indie game as sort of a outline, I think Viktor and Jayce are going to meet Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank and Ezreal will go to the fight. If you watch my previous theory, I think the next season is going to be Riven, and Riven is going to introduce Yasuo, and Yasuo and Ahri are going to meet up with Blitzcrank and Ezreal to go fight this, because that's where Ahri is taking herself. I have to brush up on the lore on that bit to understand, but there's those 4. Then you have, I believe it's Gangplank and Alawi are also there, right? And you can easily use that season 5, or they could easily be the ship that takes them there you introduce in season 6, right? Like, that's where I just see it genuinely headed and what I see them doing. And this is the most likely storyline that they're going to go to. It's a big enough event that isn't too big, and it combines with a new cast of characters that uses previous characters to build on the current story. But at the end of the day, that's just what I think. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. Peace.